Story 1. A bit about me. I'm a first-time mom to my beautiful 6-month-old baby boy, Oliver. Having Oliver was the greatest blessing in my life, but it didn't come easy. My husband and I tried for 3 years to conceive. We went through 2 miscarriages and 1 round of in vitro fertilization before we finally got our miracle baby. We named him Oliver after my grandfather, who raised me after my parents died in a car accident when I was just 4 years old. The name means everything to me. After Oliver was born, I struggled with postpartum depression. My doctor suggested I join a Mommy and Me yoga class to help with my mental health and to connect with other new moms. I was nervous at first, but it turned out to be exactly what I needed. I'd been going for about a month, and I was finally starting to feel like myself again. That is, until last Tuesday, when the most bizarre confrontation of my life happened. I arrived at the studio about 15 minutes early. I was getting Oliver settled on the mat beside me, talking to him softly as I always do. Me. There we go. Oliver, you're such a good boy. Are you ready for some yoga with Mommy? Oliver gurgled happily and kicked his little legs. Just then, I heard an overdramatic gasp from behind me. I turned around to see a woman I'd never seen before staring at me with her mouth open. She was holding one of those tiny Pomeranian dogs in a sparkly pink carrier. She marched right up to me, her face already turning red. Karen, excuse me, what did you just call your baby? I was confused by her tone, but answered politely. Me. Oliver, that's his name. Karen, are you kidding me right now? That's my dog's name. She thrust the carrier forward so I could see the fluffy Pomeranian inside. The dog had a rhinestone collar with a tag that indeed read Oliver. Me. Oh, that's a coincidence. It's a common name. Karen. No, you don't understand. I've had my Oliver for 3 years. Everyone at the dog park knows him as Oliver. You can't just come along and use the same name for your baby. I looked around, thinking this had to be a joke. A few other moms who were setting up their mats were now watching us. Me? I'm sorry, but I don't see the problem. They're not the same species? My son isn't going to get confused with your dog. Karen, this is basically identity theft. Do you have any idea how special and unique my Oliver is? He's won 3 local dog shows. Now people will think I named him after your baby. At this point, I was trying not to laugh because I thought she might be joking. But her face was dead serious. Me. My son is named after my grandfather. I'm not changing his name because your dog happens to have the same one. Karen, so you're saying your grandfather is more important than my fur baby? That's so selfish. You could easily change your baby's name. He won't even remember. I've been calling my Oliver by his name for years. He responds to it. The yoga instructor had arrived by now and was watching this unfold with obvious confusion. Instructor, is everything okay over here? Karen immediately turned to the instructor, clearly thinking she'd found an ally. Karen, no, it's not okay. This woman is using my dog's name for her baby. I've been coming to this studio for weeks, and I bring Oliver to the lobby while I do my regular yoga class. Everyone here knows him as Oliver. It's creating confusion and distress for both me and my fur baby. The instructor looked from Karen to me, clearly trying to process this bizarre complaint. Instructor, I'm sorry, but are you saying you want her to rename her human child because your dog has the same name? Karen, yes. It's the principle of the thing. I had the name first. Instructor, ma'am, this is a Mommy and Me yoga class. For mothers and their babies. Your dog isn't even supposed to be in the studio at all. We have a strict no pets policy for health and safety reasons. Karen rolled her eyes dramatically. Karen, Oliver isn't a pet. He's my child. And this is discrimination. If she gets to bring her baby, I should get to bring mine. At this point, other moms in the class were either staring open-mouthed or trying to hide their laughter. I was just frozen in place, unable to believe this was actually happening. Instructor, This class is specifically for human babies and their mothers. It says so very clearly on our website and in all our marketing materials. Karen: well, I want to join this class with my Oliver, and I want her to change her baby's name. It's confusing for my dog. Me: I am not changing my son's name. This conversation is absurd. Karen turned back to me, pointing her finger right in my face. Karen: you're doing this on purpose. You probably heard someone mention my Oliver and decided to copy me. This is harassment. I'd had enough at this point. Me: look, I don't know you or your dog. I named my son after my deceased grandfather. Even if I had known about your dog, which I didn't, I still would have used the name. It has significance to me that goes beyond your pet. Karen: how dare you call him a pet? And now you're making up some sob story about a dead grandfather? Likely excuse. That was it. I felt tears spring to my eyes. My grandfather had only passed away 2 years ago, and the loss was still raw. For her to suggest I was lying about him was too much. The instructor stepped between us. Instructor: that's enough. Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to leave the studio immediately. Karen: what? You're taking her side? I've been a customer here for months. Instructor: you're harassing another client over something completely unreasonable, and you've brought an animal into the studio against our policies. I'm not asking again. Karen: fine, but this isn't over. I'm going to file a complaint with the owner, and I'm going to post about this on every social media platform and dog forum. Everyone will know that she stole my Oliver's identity. She stormed toward the door, but turned back for one last parting shot. Karen: you should be ashamed of yourself. My poor Oliver is going to need therapy after this identity crisis. And with that, she left, her Pomeranian peering out of the carrier with what I swear looked like embarrassment. The studio was silent for a moment before the instructor came over to me. Instructor: I am so sorry about that. Are you okay? I nodded, still in shock. Me? I can't believe that happened. She wanted me to change my baby's legal name because her dog is called Oliver. The instructor shook her head. Instructor: some people really do think their pets are the same as human children. I've seen a lot in my years of teaching, but this is definitely a first. Another mom from the class came over. Mom -1, that was insane. You handled it really well, though. Mom -2, yeah, I would have lost it if someone suggested I rename my baby for a dog. The class started a few minutes late that day, but the incident actually ended up bringing all of us moms closer. We couldn't stop talking about it during our post-yoga tea time. 2 days later, I got a text from the instructor letting me know that Karen had indeed complained to the owner, who promptly told her she was banned from the studio for harassment. Apparently, she'd been problematic before, bringing her dog to regular yoga classes and insisting he needed to be there for her emotional support despite having no certification. The owner also discovered she'd been lying about attending the studio for months. She'd only purchased a trial pass the week before. Yesterday, I went back to class, and the instructor presented me with a little onesie for Oliver that said, "The original Oliver" on it, a gift from all the moms in the class. We all had a good laugh about it. My husband still thinks I'm exaggerating the story when I tell it. Sometimes I wonder if I dreamed the whole thing. But then I look at the onesie and remember that yes, there really are people out there who think the world revolves around them, and their pets to such an absurd degree. And to think all this drama because a woman couldn't accept that her dog shares a name with my human child. I guess that's entitlement for you. Story 2. I've been a gamer since I was a kid. My parents weren't rich, but they always tried to get me at least one good gift for Christmas or my birthday. I started with a PlayStation 1 when I was 8, and I've owned every PlayStation console since then. Gaming has been my escape, my stress relief, and honestly, one of the few constants in my life. After college, I got a job as an IT specialist for a small company. The pay was decent, but between student loans, rent, and bills, I didn't have much left for luxuries. Still, I had been saving up for months to buy the PlayStation 5. I followed all the gaming news, set up alerts on different websites, and joined Discord servers that tracked restocks. For 6 months, I tried to get my hands on a PS5. Every time there was a restock, I'd be ready with my credit card, only to see the dreaded, out-of-stock message seconds after the sale went live. It was frustrating, but I didn't give up. Then, last week, I got an alert that GameStop in the local mall would have a limited restock the next morning. They were opening early, at 8 a.m., specifically for this restock. I requested the morning off work, set 3 alarms, and went to bed early. I arrived at the mall at 5:30 a.m. and was shocked to see about 20 people already in line. I took my place, opened my folding chair, and prepared for the long wait. As time passed, more people joined the line behind me. By 7:30 a.m., there were at least 50 people, and a mall security guard came to organize us. Security guard, all right folks, GameStop will open at 8 a.m. They have exactly 15 PlayStation 5 consoles in stock. To avoid any issues, I'll be handing out numbered tickets to the first 15 people in line. I was number 12 in line, so I got a ticket. The guard continued down the line, and once the 15th ticket was handed out, he made another announcement. Security guard, that's it, folks. All 15 tickets have been distributed. If you didn't get a ticket, I'm sorry, but there won't be any more PS5s available today. Some people left, disappointed, but others stayed, hoping there might be a mistake or that someone with a ticket wouldn't show up. As 8 a.m. approached, the security guard let us in one by one. When it was my turn, I practically ran to the counter, handed over my credit card, and finally had my PS5. The store employee put it in a large GameStop bag, but everyone knew what was inside. I couldn't stop smiling as I walked out of the store. I decided to grab some breakfast at the food court before heading home to set up my new console. That's when it happened. I was sitting at a table in the food court, eating a breakfast sandwich with my PS5 bag safely between my feet, when I noticed a woman and a boy who looked about 7 years old. The boy was pointing at my bag and pulling on his mother's arm. Boy, Mom, look, that person has a PlayStation 5. I want one. I want one now. The woman, who I'd soon learn was a classic Karen, looked at me, then at her son, and sighed dramatically. Karen, honey, they're all sold out. We can try again next time. The boy wasn't having it. He started stomping his feet, and his voice got louder. Boy, no, I want it now. You promised me a PS5. You promised. People were starting to stare. I tried to ignore them and focus on my food, but then I felt someone standing next to my table. I looked up to see Karen looming over me, with her red-faced, teary-eyed son beside her. Karen, excuse me, I couldn't help but notice you got the last PlayStation 5. Me, actually, I was 12th in line. There were 3 more after me. Karen, well, we've been trying for months to get one for my son. It's for his good grades. I didn't know what to say, so I just nodded sympathetically. Karen, how much do you want for it? Me, I'm sorry, but it's not for sale. I've been trying to get one for 6 months. The boy's crying got even louder. Boy, I want it. Give it to me. It's mine. Karen put her hand on my PS5 bag. Karen, look, I'll give you an extra $100 for it. That's a good deal. I pulled my bag closer to me. Me, I'm really sorry, but no, it's not for sale. Karen's face changed. Her fake smile disappeared, replaced by a scowl. Karen, you're being very selfish. It's just a toy. My son deserves it more than you do. You're an adult, for God's sake. By this point, people at nearby tables were openly watching the drama unfold. The boy was now on the floor, having a full-blown tantrum, kicking and screaming. Me, ma'am, I waited in line since 5:30 this morning. I've been trying to get this console for months. I'm not selling it. Karen leaned in closer. Karen, $200 extra. Final offer. Me, no. Karen's son was now rolling around on the food court floor, screaming at the top of his lungs. It was so loud that a mall security guard started walking toward us. And then Karen did something that left me speechless. Karen, fine, you want something valuable in exchange? How about my son? I thought she was joking, but her face was dead serious. Karen, take him. He's a handful, but at least you'll get quiet at night. Trust me, a kid is worth way more than that stupid PlayStation. The security guard had reached our table just in time to hear this. Security guard, ma'am, did you just offer to trade your child for a video game console? Karen, mind your own business. I'm trying to make a deal here. The security guard looked shocked. Security guard, ma'am, I need you to step away from this person and come with me. Karen, not until I get that PlayStation. My son deserves it. The boy was still on the floor, but his tantrum had lessened slightly as he watched his mother argue with the security guard. Security guard, ma'am, offering to trade your child, even as a joke, is a serious matter. I need you to come with me now. Karen, it wasn't a joke. This selfish person won't sell me the PlayStation, so I'm offering a fair trade. A kid is worth more than a stupid game machine. The security guard spoke into his radio, and within minutes, another security guard arrived. They spoke quietly, then one of them approached me. Security guard, sir, are you okay to provide a statement about what just happened? Me, yes, of course. The other guard was trying to calm Karen down, but she was growing more irate by the second. Karen, this is ridiculous. I was just trying to get a PlayStation for my son. You can't treat me like this. I want to speak to your manager. The security guards escorted Karen and her son to the security office. I followed and gave my statement. They also took statements from several witnesses in the food court who had overheard everything. I learned later that the mall security had called the police, and Karen was being investigated for child endangerment. The boy was temporarily placed with his father, who apparently was divorced from Karen and had been fighting for full custody. As I was leaving the security office, the boy's father arrived. He looked exhausted but relieved to see his son. He apologized to me repeatedly. Father, I'm so sorry for what happened. She's been doing increasingly erratic things to try to turn our son against me during the custody battle. Me, it's not your fault. Father, no, but still, I'm sorry you had to deal with that. He reached into his pocket and handed me his business card. Father, if you need to provide any additional statements for the case, please contact me. I want to make sure this incident is fully documented for the custody hearing. I nodded and wished him luck. As I finally left the mall, PlayStation 5 still securely in my possession, I couldn't help but feel sorry for the kid. No video game console is worth what he was going through. 2 weeks later, I received an email from the father. He wanted to thank me for my statement, which had been instrumental in his custody case. The judge had granted him full custody, with Karen getting only supervised visitation until she completed parenting classes and therapy. He also mentioned that he had managed to buy his son a PlayStation 5 from a different store, and they were enjoying playing games together as a way to bond after all the trauma. I'm glad my PlayStation 5 story had something of a happy ending, at least for the kid. As for Karen, I hope she gets the help she needs, and I definitely have a story that would fit perfectly in Rentitled People. Story 3. Life has a way of throwing curveballs when you least expect them. For my husband and me, one of those curveballs came in the form of a traumatic brain injury he suffered during his third tour in Afghanistan. He was a dedicated soldier, serving our country for nearly 12 years before an improvised explosive device changed our lives forever. The blast left him with severe vision impairment, legally blind with only minimal peripheral vision in his left eye. After countless surgeries and rehabilitation sessions, we finally adjusted to our new normal. My husband refused to let his disability define him. He was determined to maintain his independence as much as possible. That's when Apollo came into our lives, a beautiful German Shepherd trained as a service dog specifically to assist the visually impaired. Apollo quickly became an essential part of our family. He helped my husband navigate the world safely, avoiding obstacles and guiding him through crowded places. My husband wore a special vest with patches that clearly stated, "Do not distract," and "Service Dog Handler," to inform people about Apollo's role. We learned early on that people often try to pet service dogs, not understanding that distracting them could be dangerous for their handlers. On that particular Saturday, my husband decided to go to the farmer's market downtown. He felt confident enough to go alone with Apollo, and I was proud of his independence. We had agreed to meet for lunch at a cafe nearby after I finished some errands. I arrived at the cafe a bit early and sat at an outdoor table. From there, I could see my husband and Apollo making their way towards me. Apollo was doing a perfect job, guiding my husband through the crowd with patience and skill. My husband was wearing his navy blue vest with the bright patches clearly visible, walking steadily beside Apollo. That's when I noticed her, a woman in her 40s with a blonde bob haircut and oversized sunglasses. She was staring at my husband and Apollo, her face twisted in disgust. At first, I thought she might just be curious, but then she pulled out her phone and started taking pictures. I had a bad feeling, but before I could stand up and walk over, my husband and Apollo had reached my table. Me, "Hey, you made it? How was the market?" My husband, "Great. Apollo was amazing as usual. I got those tomatoes you wanted and some fresh bread." As we sat chatting, I noticed the woman was now on her phone, talking animatedly while still glaring at us. About 15 minutes into our lunch, a white van with "Animal Control" printed on the side pulled up. 2 officers stepped out, and the woman immediately approached them, pointing towards our table. The woman marched over with the officers trailing behind her. Her face was red with what appeared to be righteous indignation. She pointed an accusing finger at my husband. "Karen, that's him. That's the man I called about. He's wearing a service dog vest." I was momentarily stunned. What was she talking about? My husband looked confused, and Apollo remained perfectly seated by his side. One of the officers, a middle-aged man with a kind face, looked at my husband, then at Apollo, then back at the woman. "Officer, ma'am, can you clarify your complaint?" "Karen, this man is clearly committing fraud. He's wearing a service dog vest to take that dog places it doesn't belong. I've read about this online, people buying vests to pretend their pets are service animals. It's disgusting and illegal." It suddenly clicked in my mind. This woman had completely misunderstood the situation. She thought my husband was wearing Apollo's vest. I couldn't believe the absurdity. "Me, excuse me, but you've got this all wrong. My husband is not wearing a service dog vest. He's wearing a handler vest. He's visually impaired, and Apollo is his legitimate service dog. Karen, don't lie to cover for him. I saw him walking around with that vest. Service vests are for dogs, not people. He's obviously trying to sneak his pet into restaurants and stores." By now, people at nearby tables were watching the scene unfold. My husband, always dignified despite any situation, calmly reached into his pocket and pulled out his Department of Veterans Affairs identification card. "My husband, officer, I'm a veteran. I lost most of my vision during my service in Afghanistan. Apollo is my registered service dog. The vest I'm wearing identifies me as a service dog handler to help people understand our situation." The officer looked at the ID, then at Apollo's professional harness, and immediately understood. His colleague, a younger woman, bent down slightly to read the patches on my husband's vest, which clearly said, "Do not distract," and "Service Dog Handler." The female officer turned to the woman with a stern expression. Female officer, "Ma'am, this is a legitimate service animal and handler. The vest the gentleman is wearing is not a service dog vest, it's a handler vest designed to inform the public about the service animal." Karen, "Well, how was I supposed to know that? It looked suspicious to me." The officer's expression hardened. Male officer, "Ma'am, before reporting someone to authorities, It's your responsibility to make sure you understand what you're seeing. This gentleman is a disabled veteran with a properly trained service animal. Karen, well, he doesn't look blind. He was walking just fine. My blood was boiling at this point. The audacity of this woman to question my husband's disability was infuriating. Me, that's because he has an expertly trained service dog. That's literally the point. My husband placed his hand gently on mine, a silent request to stay calm. He had dealt with ignorance before and somehow always managed to maintain his composure. My husband, it's a common misconception that all blindness means total darkness. I have some limited peripheral vision in one eye, but not enough to safely navigate alone. Apollo helps me avoid obstacles I can't see. The female officer turned back to the woman. Female officer, ma'am, we'll need your information. Filing a false report to animal control is an offense that carries a fine in this county. Karen, a fine? You can't be serious. I was trying to be a good citizen. I was reporting fraud. Male officer, without any reasonable basis. You made assumptions without attempting to understand the situation. Service animals and their handlers are protected under the Americans with Disabilities Act, and harassing them is taken very seriously. Karen, this is ridiculous. I'm not paying any fine. I want to speak to your supervisor. Female officer, that can certainly be arranged. Would you like to continue this conversation at the station? The woman's face paled slightly as she realized the officers weren't backing down. Several people from nearby tables had started vocally supporting us, with one older gentleman loudly proclaiming he had witnessed the whole thing and would be happy to provide a statement. Karen, fine, whatever. This is still ridiculous. As the officers took her information, the manager of the cafe approached our table. Manager, I'm so sorry about this disturbance. Your meals are on the house today. Please know that you and your service animal are always welcome here. After the woman received her citation, a $250 fine for filing a false report and harassment, she stormed off, muttering about fighting this in court. The officers apologized to my husband for the disturbance before leaving as well. We finished our lunch, now surrounded by supportive strangers who shared their outrage at what had happened. One woman even came over to tell us her brother also had a service dog, and she understood the challenges we faced. As we walked home, my husband surprisingly chuckled. My husband, well, that's a new one. Been accused of many things in my life, but never of being a dog impersonator. That's my husband always finding humor even in the most absurd situations. The incident reinforced something I already knew. While some people, like that entitled woman, make the world harder to navigate, there are many more who understand and support us. The officers who knew the law, the cafe manager who showed kindness, and the strangers who spoke up, they reminded us that for every ignorant person, there are many more decent ones. A week later, we received a letter from the County Animal Control Department. The entitled woman had indeed tried to contest her fine and lost. The judge had not only upheld the original fine, but added community service hours at a local veterans organization. Sometimes, justice does prevail. Apollo continues to be my husband's faithful guide, and my husband continues to wear his handler vest proudly. We've had a few curious people ask about it since then, but most just want to learn. And we're always happy to educate rather than berate, unlike some people we've encountered. Story 4. So a bit about me. I'm the maid of honor and only sibling to my amazing sister. We've always been close, despite a 4-year age gap. When she got engaged last year, I immediately threw myself into helping plan her dream wedding. She'd been there for me through my nasty divorce 2 years ago, so I was determined to make her special day perfect. I'd taken a leave from my job as a paralegal to help with the final month of preparations, and we'd spent countless hours making sure everything was just right. The wedding was at this gorgeous outdoor venue with a view of the lake. My sister looked absolutely stunning in her dress, and everything was going according to plan. The ceremony was beautiful, not a dry eye in the house when they said their vows. After the ceremony, we moved to the cocktail hour, while the photographer gathered everyone for the formal photos. That's when the trouble started. My sister had 6 bridesmaids, including me. We were all wearing these beautiful sage green dresses that complemented the outdoor setting perfectly. The photographer had us line up for a bridal party shot when this woman I'd never seen before stumbled over. At first, I thought maybe she was lost. She was clearly drunk, even though it was barely 3 p.m. She was wearing this tight, bright red dress that was way too formal for an afternoon outdoor wedding, with a plunging neckline that left little to the imagination. Her makeup was heavy, and she could barely walk in her 6-inch heels on the grass. Excuse me, we're in the middle of taking wedding photos. Woman, oh my God, photos, I look amazing today. Without any hesitation, she pushed her way between 2 of the bridesmaids and posed with a hand on her hip. Photographer, ma'am, these are just for the bridal party. The woman rolled her eyes and stayed put. Woman, trust me, I'm doing you a favor. I look better than half these bridesmaids anyway. Your photos will thank me later. I glanced at my sister, whose perfect day was quickly derailing. She looked stunned. I stepped forward, trying to keep my cool. I'm sorry, but who are you exactly? Woman, I'm here with my boyfriend. He knows the groom from college or something. I later found out she was the +1 of one of my new brother-in-law's former roommates, someone he hadn't seen in years but felt obligated to invite. Well, we're taking the bridal party photos now. The photographer will announce when it's time for guest photos. Woman, don't be so uptight. It's a party. She then tried to squeeze in closer to my sister, practically shoving another bridesmaid out of the frame. The bridesmaid, my sister's best friend since kindergarten, nearly fell. Bridesmaid, hey, watch it. Woman, oh please, I'm just trying to help. The photographer should be thanking me. These photos will look so much better with me in them. My sister, who is normally the most patient person I know, was starting to look upset. It was her wedding day, and this stranger was making it about herself. Sister, please, I'd really like to just have my bridal party in these photos. Woman, don't be so selfish. It's not like you're a model or anything. You should be grateful to have someone photogenic in your wedding album. That's when I lost it. No one talks to my sister like that, especially not on her wedding day. That's enough. You need to step away from the photo area now. Woman, or what? You can't tell me what to do. The photographer, bless her, had already discreetly signaled to the venue staff. 2 security guys approached. Photographer, we have a specific shot list to get through, and we're on a timeline. These photos are for the bridal party only. Woman, I'm making these photos better. Look at me compared to them. She gestured wildly at the bridesmaids, nearly spilling her drink. Security, ma'am, we need you to step away from the photo area. Woman, do you know how much my boyfriend paid to be here? I have every right to be in these photos. Security, ma'am, please come with us. Woman, fine. Your wedding photos will be ugly anyway. Good luck with your marriage, you'll need it with this attitude. The security guys escorted her away, and we could hear her complaining loudly as they led her back to the reception area. We finished our photos in peace, and I thought that was the end of it. Oh, how wrong I was. During the reception, she cornered me at the bar while I was getting a drink. Woman, you embarrassed me. I'm sorry you feel that way, but you were interrupting our wedding photos. Woman, do you know who I am? I've done modeling. That's nice, but... Woman, I want compensation for emotional damage. I nearly spit out my drink. Excuse me? Woman, you humiliated me in front of everyone. I'm traumatized. I want compensation. For being asked to leave photos you weren't part of. Woman, I could have been discovered. What if your wedding photographer works with magazines? This could have been my big break. I couldn't help but laugh, which made her even angrier. Woman, I'm serious. I want $500 for emotional distress, or I'll make a scene. You already made a scene, and I'm not giving you a cent. Woman, Then I'll tell everyone what a bridezilla your sister is. Me first, my sister is the furthest thing from a bridezilla. Second, no one even knows who you are. And third, I'm a paralegal. If you want to talk about emotional distress claims, I'd be happy to explain exactly how that works legally. She huffed and stormed off, nearly tripping in her heels. Later, I found out she'd been going around to other guests, telling them how rude the bride and bridal party were. Most people ignored her, but her boyfriend looked mortified. The next day, my sister posted some beautiful wedding photos on social media and thanked everyone for making her day special. Someone commented asking about the drunk girl in the red dress who tried to crash the photos, and another guest filled in the story. The post blew up among our friends. Several people who were at the wedding shared their own encounters with her. Apparently, she told the caterer their food was mediocre at best, tried to change the DJ's playlist because no one wants to hear this garbage, and complained that the open bar didn't have her specific brand of vodka. The comment section turned into a roast session. Her boyfriend, who was tagged in some of the wedding photos, normal ones, with his actual friends, saw the thread. He reached out to my brother-in-law to apologize profusely and let him know he had taken care of the situation. We later found out that taking care of the situation meant he had dumped her. Apparently, this wasn't the first time she'd embarrassed him at an event, but it was definitely going to be the last. A week later, she somehow found my sister's cell number and called her crying, saying we'd ruined her life by cyberbullying her and causing her breakup. My sister, nicer than I would have been, simply said, "I'm sorry things didn't work out for you, but my wedding day wasn't about you," and hung up. We haven't heard from her since, but my sister now has a hilarious story to tell at dinner parties, and the photographer did get one accidental photo with a woman in it, which has become something of an inside joke. We call it the red flag photo. My sister's marriage is off to a great start, and they laugh about the incident now. As for the woman, last I heard, she got kicked out of another wedding for similar behavior. Some people never learn.